couple of guys right here. We saw it coming for years. Jim Harbaugh, how about that? Tip of the cap to you and I.
Well, I mean, listen, I think we have been accused of being Jim Harbaugh defenders at times, but they're playing better football. I got to tell you, over their last 18 quarters, they're outscoring their opponents like 180 to like 52.
Thanks.
They've been dominant.
They have been dominant.
Rather than thanks, just say, "You're welcome, America."
You're welcome, America.
See, there you go.
A couple of guys here aren't bandwagon guys. We stuck with Harbaugh. You and I, guys like Whitlock, have been bailing on him forever. We kept saying Michigan's
Whitlock is like a Hoke defender, and there's no defending that.
Yeah, 6.5 wins to 9. They're going to win 10 if they win a bowl game. All right, so last night, the playoff committee, Joel Klatt's joining us, the voice of college football, wearing a sweater. He likes almonds and sweaters. I kid you not, boring.
I do like sweaters.
But yet you're so dynamic on the air. So what did the playoff rankings came out last night? My theory on this whole thing from week one, I've been saying, they just want 2 SEC teams in, which I don't have a problem with. It is the best conference. So what do you make of that? Ohio State won, LSU 2.
That's interesting. I actually got a different feeling.
Right.
I got the feeling like it's not happening for Bama.
Oh, that's what you saw.
That's what I saw there. I think that they're waiting for that 13th data point for Utah. If they can get a championship game, I think that they're going to jump Utah over Alabama.
Okay.
And I think they're telling us that with Georgia's body of work, if they beat LSU, both of those teams will go. But if LSU beats Georgia, I think Utah would be the next team in there.
So, but basically you're saying, you're probably right on this. They're saying this morning if they played, we take Bama. But we're going to punish Bama for not getting into their conference championship game.
I think that's correct. And the resumes, by the way, between Bama and Utah are both very thin. Very thin resume. The resume that's going to look better on paper is OU if they were to win out.
Oklahoma.
If they beat Oklahoma State
and Baylor.
And Baylor in the Big 12 championship game. But I think that they're setting things up with how Utah has played, the way that they look on defense in particular. You know, they've won 7 straight games by 29 or more points.
Yeah, no,
Utah's a real team.
Yeah, it's a real team. And by the way, Utah, now Bama's a different program. Utah years ago went to the Sugar Bowl and knocked Bama out.
They did.
Remember that?
They did.
Utah's always played great special teams. They run the football. They got NFL guys all over their defensive line. That's been their story when Urban was there 20 years ago.
They've got 5 or 6 NFL guys on their defense.
Yep.
That's one of the best defenses in America. And no one sees them play because they play at midnight and everyone goes to bed. But rest assured, Utah is the real deal. And Tyler Huntley, their quarterback, is going to get a few Heisman Trophy votes. Yep. I know that might surprise some people, but he's played well as well.
Okay, so there's been a lot of talk about the 8-team playoff. And my thing is,
everyone's clamoring.
And I'm always like, college football's always had one thing more than any sport: urgency. Even in the NFL, you can stink in September. That's fine.
That's right.
In college football, you stink in September. I'm not going in October. If you had an 8-team playoff, I don't even like the number 4 team right now. We're arguing about Alabama, and Georgia can't throw the ball over the top. Georgia got boat raced at home by a bad South Carolina team.
That's right.
So, no, they got beat at home. So my takeaway is I'm not an 8-team playoff guy in most years.
Okay, so let me tell you what will happen. Here's the sequence of events of what happens if they expand the playoff to 8. Here's what happens is that the conferences, in particular the Power 5 conferences, who own the playoff, by the way. The NCAA does not own the playoff. The conferences own the playoff. So they will demand an automatic bid for their champion.
5 of 8 are in.
They're going to be in, which means that automatically nullifies any importance of a non-conference game. 0. It means 0. And yet this sport, I think, is the most unique because of its importance in the regular season. You call it urgency. I agree 100% with you. I think that you reduce the urgency of the regular season, which is the most important factor for this sport, in large part why it's number 2 in our country as far as ratings, popularity. And I don't want to devalue the regular season in college football. The other thing that you have is you're arguing between more and more flawed resumes.
By the 8th team, I'm arguing over 2 losses. Like Penn State's 9-2. They played 2 really good teams.
Lost to them both.
Both. And Michigan, if they'd played another 8 minutes, may have beaten them.
Another 30 seconds. You never know.
So
I'm completely with you on this. And you're going to get more teams that are arguing. Florida is going to be like, well, what about us? And Baylor? What about everybody's going to have their hand up? And I think that you create more you create more of an argument over teams that are more and more flawed, and what ends up happening is, well, let's just do 12. Well, let's just do 14, 16, and it's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow, and I don't think that that's good for the sport.
Joel Klatt's joining us, the voice of college football. He does a terrific job. We disagree a lot. We'll disagree on this. So a lot of talk about Ohio State's one of the best teams ever. I do think it's the best Ohio State team potentially I've seen. I'm not sure if it's – I don't consider it the best team ever. The best team I've ever seen play, I saw them play live, was the 1995 Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Okay.
Tommy Frazier, Lawrence Phillips.
Yep.
They had some chemical stuff going on because they had guys running way too fast for their size, and they destroyed Steve Spurrier, Florida Gators. I mean, literally grabbed them and threw them in a trash can.
Yeah, it was 95 Fiesta Bowl.
I was there live. It was embarrassing. It was brutal. So that's the best team. So
they're good.
Okay, so give me your – do you think Ohio State's one of the best teams ever?
I don't think you can even come close to saying that until the end of the season. Now, potentially, could they get there? Yes. I think that this team specifically could potentially get to that level if they were to run the table and go 15-0 and win the national championship.
And whack LSU and whack Clemson.
Because remember, it depends a lot. To be historically considered one of the best teams of all time, you got to have played great opponents. You can't just be like, well, we won a lot of games. It's like, yeah, everyone wins a lot of games in college football. You got to beat really quality opponents. You've got to dominate in those games. It's going to matter how many guys are drafted off of that team, which is why a lot of people say 2001 Miami could be one of the best teams ever. They had 17 first-round draft picks on that team alone. 38 drafted players on that roster, 17 of them in the first round.
That's the most talented team I've ever seen. Nebraska, mid-'90s, is the best team.
I would also put up, if I was going to say, like, who are your top five, I would have 95 Nebraska in there. I would have 01 Miami.
Okay, so here's Klatt's.
Here's my ranking. Number 5 would be 95 Nebraska. Last year's Clemson team was incredible, including knocking off Bama, which is a big deal at that point.
They were very good.
71 Nebraska, no one remembers them. They beat the number 2, 3, and 4 team in the country that year, which was Oklahoma, Colorado, and there was one other in the bowl game.
People didn't even wear shoes back then with football.
Well, they were great. 01 Miami, and then guys, I might be a little biased on this.
2005 Texas?
2005 Texas, the Vince Young Texas team who beat USC. They ended USC's winning streak. I mean, that was I think Vince Young was the best player I've ever seen on a football field. We had to play him twice. This is one of the reasons I have him number 1.
We had to play him twice.
They put me in the hospital. You know why I have him? Because things like this. Yeah, that's me throwing an interception right there.
I hated that throw by you.
He was open. The corner was open. The corner route was open.
I had you as a top 10 draft pick.
This is why right here. And lights out. Yeah, you bet.
They knocked you out?
Yeah, I'm unconscious there. Oh, why are we putting up this? This is just because? We're not talking about this Miami team. They're trying to get me on the John Beeson.
Have you ever seen Vince Young's high school tape?
Oh, gosh.
He's the great. I'm not kidding you. I like recruiting. Vince Young's high school tape, he's the greatest high school player of all time. It looks like
Adrian
a building
Peterson's right up there.
Playing against 9-year-olds. He looks like a building.
I love these types of discussions. But when you bring it back to this year, Ohio State's going to have a chance. Think about it. I mean, they have now beaten 10 of their 11 opponents by 24 or more points. They just took a top 10 team, turned the ball over 3 times, a 17-point swing in turnovers, and still beat them by double digits. They're going to have a chance to win the Big Ten and go 10-0 in Big Ten play, 9 in the regular season, 1 in the conference championship games. It'll be the first time ever, if they're able to do it, that a team gets that done, 10-0 in conference play. They could play LSU. They could play Clemson. If this Ohio State team goes 15-0 and wins the national championship, they will be a top 5 all-time college football team. Think of the draft picks they have. They're going to have what I think is potentially the Heisman Trophy winner on defense, Chase Young. They're going to have a top 10 pick at corner, and Jeff Okudah. Great running back in J.K. Dobbins. He'll be a top 2-round pick. There's draft picks littered all over this roster.
And by the way,
the most dominant and complete team in the country.
Justin Fields will go number 2 next year, the following year, 2021.
Chase Young's so good.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Hey, did you hear me call? I said Superman and the Avengers. Did you catch that?
Somebody said you got.
Oh, they were upset, man. I tell you, the nerds and the nerdery were upset
because
with Klatt.
you made a super.
But I did.
You like almonds and sweaters, so
you made a superhero reference and you were wrong or something.
I was wrong, and that's right. I said, "Oh, this is like Superman and the Avengers," and apparently they've never teamed up. Although I have.
Superman is DC and Avengers is Marvel,
which I've learned since. Yes, but there was like in the early 2000s there was like a one allegiance that they had where they actually showed up together. Not that I was referencing that because I wouldn't have that frame of mind anyways. But, listen, I'm a stubborn guy. Joy, you and Colin, you guys know that.
I would say that.
I'm turning into this one like right into the headwind. I will say it again in the first quarter. No doubt in my mind. Superman and the Avengers are coming out again. Eat it, nerds.
You're going to say it again on the air?
Of course I am, Joy. Turn right into it. There's a headwind. Turn into Own it. Own your mistake. I want to make shirts.
My son,
I want to get a Superman and Avengers shirt and put it on Chase Young and take a picture with him.
In your face, nerds.
Yes.
Yeah, my son loves the Avengers. I've seen them all with him.
Who doesn't love the Avengers?
Thanos and Robert Downey.
I saw a couple of them. I haven't seen all of them.
Very
but
good.
I've seen a couple.
Very good.
I haven't seen all of them. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Right. There's got to be a lot, right?
But
Because they have
you
the
like
singular
the Avengers.
movie.
You do like the Avengers,
of
right?
course.
All right.
I like
All
All
that.
right. Good luck on the big game this weekend.
You bet.
That'd
Happy
be good. Good for you.
And then good luck to me on Twitter afterwards with all the comic nerds.
By the way, Walmart, get your own shampoo. Dove Men Plus Care. Stop borrowing your girlfriends. That's Joe Klatt. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.